So I actually want to get your take on a certain video. If we will remember, a few weeks back before Trump's election, again, he was on a bit of a press junket, so he was going around on certain interviews, and he did an interview on Joe Rogan, and some interesting things came up, actually. So I'll just play the video, and then we can discuss.
Right.
One of the things that I want to talk to you about is the JFK files. And one of the things that you said was that if they showed you what they showed me, this was your quote, you wouldn't want people to know it either.
So I opened them up partially. I was met from good people. I mean, good people. People that were well-meaning. Mike Pompeo was one of them. He's a good person. They called me. They said, "Sir, would rather have you not." And I did open them. But I was asked by some people not to open them. There's a Martin Luther King file, too, by the way, that they'd like to see. I don't know if you know, but there is that. But JFK in particular. So they called me, a lot of good people called me, people that that you would find reasonable people. And they asked me not to do it. So I said, well, we'll close it for another time. But if I win, I'm going to open them up.
How much of it did you read into?
I think it's going to be just fine to open it. Let me put it that way. I think it's fine. It's going to be time. It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it immediately, almost immediately upon entering office. I can't tell you whether or not they're going to find anything of interest. And I did partially open. I think I've opened 50%, but I was asked not to do it, and I thought that was a reasonable ask. But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon. There's a lot of interest in it.
One of the things that
there's a lot of interest in the people coming from space,
Yes.
And I know you're interested in that.
Oh, I'm very interested in that. How much did they tell you?
Okay, right. So I'm going to pause it there. Let's tackle that first part. So JFK, John F. Kennedy, someone who's come up throughout our doctrine. Baba Yaanuwn has given us breakdowns about him. There's a lot of mystery surrounding his assassination to the general public, but we know there's certain truths behind that. So it'd be interesting to see if he's gonna open up the files.
Right.
He said, "From the moment I get into office, I'm gonna do it."
He's in office now, so
so yeah,
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose technically he hasn't taken up his seat.
Taken up his seat yet.
Fair enough.
We will see on that day. But what does our doctrine say is the truth behind JFK and his assassination?
Yeah, I mean JFK, definitely definitely a character that's come up. The whole Kennedy family has come up a lot. Baba Yaanuwn has spoken about him at various times, some of the older books, some of the more recent updates where he explained the situation regarding JFK. But if you were going to sum it up, it's quite simple, to be honest. He was assassinated for a number of reasons. First of all, he was assassinated by the government themselves. But what was explained is that he was assassinated for a few different reasons, but one of the main things that he was going to do that they didn't like was he was going to reveal the existence of extraterrestrials. So JFK, like any president in that seat, is either made or is formally aware that the US government, not singularly, but the US government has contact with aliens or extraterrestrial beings at different points in time for different reasons. So JFK was just another one in the list who was aware of that. But it came a time where he, I don't know if it was his conscience kicked in or whatever it was. He was like, nah, the people deserve to know. And so he had planned to tell the people that not only that they exist, but also that they're fundamentally involved in government agenda. They have contact with both human beings in the government and outside the government. The details to which he was going to reveal, I suppose we're unsure exactly how much he was going to say, but certainly he was going to reveal their existence and their collaboration with government. Upon finding out that he was going to do this, they ensured that he couldn't, and anyone that he might have told could not either. So if you go back to Kennedy times and you look at what was happening, obviously we know Marilyn Monroe had a lot to do with the Kennedy family, right? She died suspiciously in 1962, right? Just over a year later, JFK gets assassinated. And they still haven't figured out exactly how. The conspiracy theories are running wild out there on the internet. as to exactly how it happened and who did it. Okay, but 63 he gets taken out, and also his brother, who also knew about extraterrestrial involvement, a few years later he gets taken out. He gets killed when he is actually running to become president. Actually, I think that's in 68. He gets taken out. That's Bobby Kennedy or Robert Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
So when Baba Yaanuwn gave us the update on this, he explained that all three of them were taken out pretty much for the same reason, because they knew too much. And not only did they know too much, but they either had claimed they were now going to reveal this information or hadn't promised not to reveal the information. So upon JFK being taken out, remember, Marilyn Monroe was actually taken out first. So she got close to the Kennedy family. I was like, she knows too much. That's not secure. We're going to have to kill her. JFK was then planning to reveal the information. He was taken out over a year later. And then several years later, Bobby Kennedy, coincidentally, when he's trying to become president, and who knows what he's going to do once he gets into office, they couldn't take that chance and they killed him too. And so if you do research into that, Marilyn Monroe was all the way up in there.
All the way up in there.
All the way up in there with the Kennedys and doing whatever she did. There was rumors certainly that she had some type of affair with Bobby Kennedy, but perhaps with JFK also at that time. I wasn't there, I don't know. But she was all the way up in there, right? So the fact that all three of them were taken out is no coincidence, and that they were all taken out within the space of 5-6 years. When you go back and look at the dates, obviously they'll say Marilyn Monroe seemed like it was suicide. No, okay, they killed her. JFK, it's an assassination, they know, but all different theories have been put out there to how it happened. It was even in one of the X-Men movies where Magneto was like, yeah, I was trying to save Kennedy with my powers and the bullet. So they throw it out there in their movies and their films.
Yeah, because didn't they even say in that movie he knew about the existence of mutants or something?
Yeah, effectively what Magneto said in that movie is that he was a mutant.
Oh, okay.
JFK was a mutant, which is just interesting. But they take what is real and then put it into their movies, put little twists and spins on it. The bottom line is he was taken out for quite a simple reason. There is a list of reasons, because there were certain policies, certain things that he was trying to do that they didn't like also. But the main reason, the one that triumphed them all, was the fact that he was like, yeah, people need to know that aliens exist, and he was going to tell them. And members of government weren't happy about that. In fact, even Eisenhower, the president before he was, signed off on it. Baba Yaanuwn explained that. He said, yeah, Eisenhower was like, yeah, I don't care. Take him out if he's going to reveal certain things. Certain other people knew certain things, like Nixon, but Nixon said, oh, listen, I won't say anything. So, okay.
Yeah, I keep it hush-hush.
I keep it hush-hush.
This goes to show there are powers above the president of the United States.
Yeah, most definitely. President is the presidential seat. I remember Baba Yaanuwn explaining that even when you have the overground or the visible government, so to speak, there is an underground government who runs and takes care of certain things. So even from that perspective, there's more going on than you think. But as we mentioned with the fact that Trump is in office now, and we looked at it and we said, hey, they was all playing along. I saw recently, a couple of days ago, Biden put on a Trump hat. Just as a little joke, he put on a Trump 2024 hat. Obviously, Trump's won now.
Yeah. And
I just saw it as symbolic of the fact that they're all in on this. They all know what has to happen, and they all wanted Trump in office. And anything that you saw which supported Trump being pushed into that position was really a play act. Biden's speech abilities have returned now. Now he's walking the right way. Now he's cracking jokes and all of that. So he's he's looking like a young man again. Not looking like a young man, because he
never looks like a young man,
but behaving more in a more younger fashion now. Whereas a few months ago we was like, it could end any day. He could just drop dead right in front of our eyes while he's making this speech. So powers above Trump, both Trump and Biden made the decision to elect Trump, and there's always powers above this presidential seat. And if you go all the way back to George Washington, which we broke down a while ago, he revealed in one of the prints that was put out of him that he was in contact with extraterrestrials from the Pleiades star system. Okay, when we put out that print, maybe we'll show it again. You saw that he was not only a Mason, but likely through his Masonic order in contact with extraterrestrials. Hence you had the symbolism of the 7 sisters or the 7 stars of Pleiades and the Jacob's ladder going up to a craft in the sky, which you see on the image. Mm-hmm. So all the presidents, George Washington, and since then George Washington is not the first president, but George Washington and everyone since then, they would have had to have some type of contact with either an extraterrestrial or contacts of extraterrestrials, and they would have known of their existence, and they would have known what was going on. So that's why JFK was taken out, simply because of that fact, because he knew and he was going to say, and they didn't want him to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, let's get into the second part, because I think that's going to tie in a bit as well.
Partially open. I think I've opened 50%, but I was asked not to do it, and I thought that was a reasonable ask. But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon. There's a lot of interest in it.
One of the things that
There's a lot of interest in the people coming from space, you know.
Yes.
And I know you're interested in that.
Oh, I'm very
too.
interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
how's that work? Is it like super
I think
top
I
secret?
Can tell, you know.
Tell me.
Well, based on Hunter Biden, I can say whatever the hell I want, right? But no. But I interviewed a few people. It's never been my thing, I have to be honest. I have never been a believer. I have people that Area 51 or whatever it is. I think it's the #1 tourist attraction in the whole country or something. Area 51 in Las Vegas. Do you know that, right?
Sure. I know what it is.
So anyway, but it's a big tourist thing. So I interviewed jet pilots that say they saw something. If you saw them, you'd love to have them as your
I've had a
son.
couple in here. Commander David Fravor.
Yeah.
I had him in, who had that sighting in 2004. Very, very compelling with video evidence, radar evidence. Ryan Graves.
I don't believe his name, but I interviewed jet pilots that were solid people. Perfect. I mean, great pilots, great everything. And they said, we saw things, sir, that were very strange. Like a round ball, but it wasn't a comet or a meteor. It was something. And it was going 4 times faster than an F-22, which is a very fast plane, you know. And it was round, which is, in theory, a great shape.
So when you were talking to these people, was this something that you were compelled to have conversations about? Was this your personal interest?
No, a little bit. It's not a great interest for me, but it's a little interest. I get that question as much as almost any question. Do you think that we have aliens coming, you know, flying around or whatever?
What do you think?
There's no reason not to. I mean, there's no reason not to think that Mars and all these planets don't have life, you know, because
Mars, we've had probes there and rovers, and I don't think there's any life there.
Well, maybe it's life that we don't know, but
maybe there was life there at one point in time. This is the speculation about Mars, that Mars had an atmosphere at one point in time, a long time ago, that could support life. It also had large bodies of water, but we've had no evidence of even bacterial life that exists on Mars. But the universe is pretty vast. It's not been a big thing
for me. I mean, when I looked at what China did to this, they would have never done it with me, where they put the balloon up, and a lot of people thought for a little while that was one of these things. So,
well, that's a lot of the speculation too, that some of these drones that hover over battleships, that these are Chinese drones, and that they're not UFOs.
They could be also.
There's some super sophisticated.
But I did interview, let's say 3 or 4 guys that, and without tremendous interest, if you had them. As I said, you'd love to have them as your children. Solid, beautiful people. They said, sir, there's something there. You know,
there's something there.
They've said it, yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to quite a few of them.
They're not conspiracy guys.
Well, I mean, just the Commander David Fravor thing in 2004 off the coast of San Diego, they clocked that thing going from 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 in a second.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is.
That's tough to beat.
Yeah, they saw something in the water. It was hovering over that something that was making a disturbance in the water. They got video evidence of this thing. 2 different fighter jets with pilots in them saw it. There's, visual evidence, photographic evidence, video evidence, radar evidence. Whatever the hell it is, it moves in a way that would turn a human being into jello if they were inside of it. The G-force, no one would survive.
Oh,
so what is that? And it doesn't have a heat signature. They don't know what their propulsion system was. But
when you fly in some of these jets, these pilots have to be in great shape.
Oh, yeah. I flew with the Blue Angels once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to fly. I guess
and
it's
those
an
are
FA-18.
And those are older machines.
And they're crazy.
When you fly in some of these things,
oh, my
it's
God.
amazing. Yeah, but
I can imagine.
You got to be special.
Okay. Okay, a few things there to note. Firstly, Joe Rogan mentioned he interviewed Commander David Fravor, Ryan Graves. We've spoke about them before in the podcast, I'll link that there if you go back to some of our What's News segments. David, he wasn't mentioned, but David Grush as well. It's important to note because they were actually interviewed in the previous Congress hearing on UAPs / UFOs. there's just been one recently, so we need to cover that. But we're going to do that soon. But just note that and go and refresh on things that happen with David Fravor, Ryan Graves, so on and so forth. Okay, so Trump really going to say, I've never been a believer. Me personally.
He said Area 51 or whatever it's called. I'm not even sure.
Like, is it 51, 52, maybe? So let's get into it. Does Trump know about extraterrestrials? We've kind of covered that in our previous episode 26 we just put out. But let's get into this.
Yeah. As far as whether Trump knows about extraterrestrials, yes, he does. Not only that, but he would have had contact to an extensive level with them. And not only that, like we said in the episode 26, he's been tasked with certain things by extraterrestrials. So when you've been given a job to do, in this case, you know who your boss is. So yes, he knows they exist. Obviously, he's gonna play the role. You know, it's interesting watching these presidents speak about things such as this, whether it's Area 51 or aliens or extraterrestrials. I remember watching Obama on one of the late night shows some years back, and he was asked a question. It might have been Kimmel or one of them shows. He was asked a question. And, you know, the body language experts are reading him like, hey. But Obama had swag. He was really cool, and he just leans back and he just says whatever he says. And yeah, he's got a little bit more, you know, style than Trump. Even though Trump's got his style, Obama had his cool way of flowing. So it's interesting watching them. But yeah, of course he knows about extraterrestrials. He'll play act. He'll say, I don't know this, I don't know that, or I'm looking forward to finding out about this, or I interviewed some people about that.
He was cracking me up there. Beautiful people. People you would want as your children.
I was like, oh, that's
okay.
Deep.
Wow. Beautiful people.
Yeah. So it's but if you really listen to what he's saying, he's revealing certain things even there in what he's saying, because he's saying certain things when unprompted. You know, he brought Mars into the situation. Joe Rogan didn't ask anything about Mars.
Yeah. Joe Rogan was a bit like, shh.
Yeah. So, no, there's no life on Mars.
We don't know if it's there.
About that. So, yeah. So, this is what I would say about what he said. If we're going to talk about those incidents as far as the pilots and members of government who have seen things, they stack up. There's too many of them, too many incidents for us to ignore them. So we're coming out of a phase of time, hopefully we're in a different phase now, where a lot of people, as soon as they hear UFOs, as soon as they hear aliens, extraterrestrials, they immediately shut off and, nah, it's conspiracy and this, that, and the other. But investigate it first before you dismiss it. You'll see that the incidents, the eyewitness accounts, the evidence, it stacks up. It stacks up that something's going on, that they either don't know or are not telling you, or probably a combination of both. Okay, and you can't ignore this. You're getting officials who are of sound mind coming out and be like, yo, man, I seen this. And you're like, come on. So, you know, that's the first thing. As far as him bringing in Mars, I thought that was interesting because we've been told a little bit about Mars, both past, present, and future, in a sense. So when he brought up Mars, and Joe Rogan was more like, maybe there's evidence of life before, some time ago, and so on and so forth. Yeah, there's a lot of theories flying around about Mars as far as ancient civilizations and whatnot. Now, when you look into, they've sent their probes there, they found, what they've revealed to us is that they found evidence that certainly the atmosphere may have been conducive for life quite some time ago. They found evidence of water or ice and so on and so forth. What we've been told about Mars is that when you deal with the being called Alalu, Alalu was a particular being who tried to overthrow Anu being the most high of the Annunaki. Alalu succeeded in overthrowing Anu and taking his throne for a period of time. What happened, to cut a long story short, is he took over the throne. Anu eventually took the throne back. When Anu took the throne back, Alalu fled to Earth. Okay, came down to Earth, places like South Africa and South America. Alalu is responsible for the construction of the Puma Punku construction, which is a city that they're still marveled by to this day. Like, how was this built? Did human beings build this? What's going on? How could this have been done? Essentially, Baba Yaanuwn explained that Alalu and his ship had certain technology, right? So he was able to scan different areas on the planet for building materials and then use a type of 3D printer to essentially construct this construction. And he did it over a day. Such was the advanced technology that he was able to use. And so he constructed this city. Not only that, but after that, he started running genetic experiments, creating certain human beings. So the Mayans or mainly the Mayans or those who descend from the Hindus and so on and so forth. Those particular humanoids are attributed to Alalu. That was him creating beings using genetic experiments to graft certain humanoids. But what happened was at first Enki came down like Alalu, what you doing down here? Enki being one of Anu's sons, we've explained before. Alalu said, hey, listen, I'm just doing me. Here, have my daughter. Are we good? Peace. Talk to Anu, talk to your pops. Because you let him know it's all good now. Like,
Get him to calm down.
Get him to calm down, right? Enki was like, oh, your daughter look kind of nice. All right, say less.
I can roll with that.
Could roll with that. Took Alalu's daughter, went to Africa, made her one of his wives. He was cool. He was chill. What happened next, though, is Enlil came down. Enlil wasn't letting it go. Right, so he comes down, he sees what Alalu's doing. He goes back to Anu. He says, listen, Alalu's down there. He's making tall humanoids. They could threaten us. He's got a whole city. We need to deal with this. Anu was like, you might be right. So Enlil got permission to destroy Alalu's city. Right, at that point, Alalu fled, and when he fled to Mars, right? So there's a longer version of that story that you can read about. There's a document called Alalu and the Throne that you can read about, the elongated version of that story. But he fled to Mars, and that's why you see the face on Mars. The face on Mars was down to Alalu and his people. That was who that represented, right? So he fled to Mars, and they lived there for quite some time before they died. So that was the ancient civilization that lived on Mars. What Baba Yaanuwn explained is that even then the surface of Mars was quite harsh, difficult to live in. So Alalu and his people went underground, right? And they lived underground for a period of time before eventually they would have passed. So that's what happened in the past as far as Mars. What we know today is that what we know as far as what they're telling us they've discovered. One of the most important discoveries they found is methane. They found the gas, methane, on the planet's atmosphere, so on and so forth. They're not saying exactly, they probably don't know exactly yet what it means, but we know that methane is usually produced as a result of organic life in some form. Maybe the decay of organic life forms and so on and so forth. So one of the possible theories there is that, okay, methane on the surface of Mars actually dissipates quite quickly. It lasts longer on Earth. So they managed to detect it and detect evidence of this gas. And what they're saying is it's likely and possible, because it's interesting, Joe Rogan said, there's not even bacterial life has been discovered there. But methane is likely a result of something that's happening underground, emitting that gas out onto the surface or out into the atmosphere. And one of the main ways that methane behaves, or one of the main reasons that you'll see the result of this gas, is organic life forms. Okay, so they're still trying to figure out it's either organic life forms decaying or it's the mixture of water with certain other elements that's creating this. Right. But it is one of their biggest discoveries so far, or that they've revealed to us so far, because it is a sign of some form of life, if that makes sense. So they're going to investigate further. We know, if you read books like Science of Creation, Existence, How and Why, methane was actually one of the early compound gases on the planet Earth, responsible for mixing with certain other gases in order to create the first versions of organic life that we would have seen here. And so this particular discovery is interesting. So look into their rovers and everything they've sent to Mars. But that's present. That's what's happening right now. As far as the future, Baba Yaanuwn has explained, you see Elon Musk and all them guys there, even Jeff Bezos, trying to get into space and trying to go towards Mars and the moon and that type of thing. What Baba's explained is that they know, the Adamites know, that their time on the planet has come to an end. Their time on Earth, or Ptar-Nun, as we say in our tones, or Tiamat, as you say in Sumerian tones, their time has come to an end. Their cycle has come to an end. So they're trying to escape to Mars, right? Get to Mars and try and create some sort of colony there to continue their life, or continue the life of their species, so to speak. Baba's explained it won't work. Their overlords are going to use it as another trap, and end up using them on Mars the same way they've been used on this planet, which we can go into a different time. But there's reasons why they've even been created and used, and this planet is a farm. And so Mars will become another farm. So their escape plan won't work. But that's what they're trying to do. Hence, you see Elon Musk, who's recently been appointed into a position in Trump's government.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, it's interesting. He's involved in those projects and has recently been appointed into Trump's government. But even to cycle back around, I just recalled, because we were speaking about JFK, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Trump has given him a position in government.
Yeah.
Something to do with health overseeing health and
Right.
human rights or resources, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting full circle, right? Because we see Robert Kennedy assassinated, as we know, because he knew too much. And if you look into Robert Kennedy, that's the senior, he would have been interested in UFOs, IFOs. You do some investigation into him, he would have been interested in that topic. He gets taken out. And then Robert Kennedy Jr. gets placed in a position to do with health in Trump's government, which is an interesting full circle. No coincidence that someone in the Kennedy family has been appointed now. Someone who's controversial as well, because if you look at some of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s views, anti-vaccine, anti-this, anti-that, that's a controversial appointment in terms of a health minister, whatever job he has. That's people will react to that. Like, well, why has he been appointed?
Yeah, I've seen the headlines. Even one was like anti-vaxxer appointed head of the health department.
There you go. So that's an interesting full circle there, and it's symbolic as well. When you look into the Kennedy family, which the Kennedy family has a lot of history that I didn't even touch on in the little Kennedy segment we just did there, in terms of things such as the Omen and Rosemary's Baby, the birth of the devil. The Kennedy family are all tied up in that. And so maybe we'll do a breakdown on that separately, because I don't want to mix that in too much. But there's a lot of history there. So to see him appointed is no coincidence. When you look at Elon Musk appointed, no coincidence. They are trying to get out. There's certain things they know they have to try and achieve on this planet, and they are trying to get out. But a lot of it is not going to work out for them as a people, because their time has quite simply come to an end, if that makes sense. So yeah, interesting. That was interesting. Like I said, unprompted. He just brought Mars in. And what was interesting about the earlier part of the video was that one of the things he mentioned was a cleansing. He said, I'm going to release the JFK files, and it's going to be a cleansing. Right? And that's just an interesting word that he's used, because part of his job is to clean certain things up. And part of the job now of the Satanists, or so on and so forth, is to clean certain things up. So you see, he immediately pointed Elon Musk and Vivek and said, you guys need to clean up this government. There are too many, how it's presented is there are too many government roles that are useless. Clean it up, get rid of them, right? That's their job. They need to clean it up. They need to fix certain things. And Trump is wasting no time in going about it. So you have to listen to what he says with the extra knowledge that Baba Yaanuwn provides and that we try and give you on the podcast, and try and read in between the lines. What is he saying when he says a cleansing? What is he saying when it's time to open this up? It's time for the truth. What is he saying? We know Trump is liable to say whatever's on his mind sometimes. So what exactly is he saying when he says these things? Trust me, these people know a lot more than they tell you they know. But there will come a time where they're going to have to tell you a lot more than they're telling you, at the very least. Okay, so you're going to learn not only that these government officials know about extraterrestrials' existence, not only that these extraterrestrials are involved in government policies, agenda, and movements, but also that the gods, angels, alihats of your holy books are extraterrestrials. All of that has to be revealed. It's prophecy. So they have to reveal it. And if you watch the Congress hearings, and we're mentioning things like that right now, they're pretty much admitting that there's aliens out there. The very fact that you're having Congress hearings where people are like, yeah, we might have alien bodies or biological matter, so on and so forth.
Well, when you think about it, in the past 4 years, we've seen extraterrestrials discussed more than we've ever seen them discussed before.
Exactly.
In all the decades previous combined.
Exactly.
It's certainly in the public eye.
Yeah, exactly, in the public eye. And suddenly it's becoming easier to speak about it online. You're seeing people go on Joe Rogan and talk about this stuff. You're seeing people go on, what's the other, I forgot the comedian's name that Billy Carson recently went on. Andrew Schwartz or something to that effect. His podcast.
Oh yeah.
PBD.
Guy look like Hitler.
Yeah. Don't do him like that.
What's up with that mustache?
Yeah, he needs to get, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe it represents him well. But yeah, so, and PBD, there's another podcast. But what I'm saying is you're seeing people speak about this type of stuff on relatively mainstream media easily. Right? Yeah. Whereas 10, 15, 20 years ago, there were people speaking about it, don't get me wrong, but they were seen as cuckoo. Oh, that's just that section of the internet over there where you can speak about this stuff. They're kind of crazy, conspiracy theorists. But now it's slowly being made more acceptable to speak about it, and that's not a coincidence. Now we're even seeing Congress hearings, people coming forth and being able to speak about it, when those decades ago, JFK was killed because he was going to speak about it. So you've seen a shift, right? Baba Yaanuwn has been talking about it for a while. Okay, a lot of people would have said, hey, what are you talking about? That's crazy talk. But no, trust me, he said they were going to have to admit it. What you're seeing right now is basically them reluctantly admitting it. Make no mistake. What you're seeing right now, they are admitting it in their own slow, deceptive way. Slowly it's coming out. But what they will also have to admit is that religion, extraterrestrials, and politics go hand in hand. And the gods or the angels of your religions are extraterrestrials. And everything that religion does is all about control. The same way that politics and all of that is all about control and power. Mm-hmm. And all of that's going to have to be revealed. So yeah, you gotta watch carefully.
You gotta watch carefully. That's interesting. I mean, one thing we do have to get into at some point as well, speaking of all the interviews lately and Congress hearings, Elizondo. We mentioned him all the way back in episode 1.
Right.
Luis Elizondo.
Right.
He done an interview lately. I think you even sent it to me on
I would have.
Diary of a CEO,
Yeah,
which
Stephen.
is weird. A weird podcast to be speaking about aliens.
Exactly. So that's the point I'm making. That podcast, Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett is his name.
Yeah.
We know him from Dragon's Den, right?
Yeah.
A podcast like that, interviewing someone who's on his UFO extraterrestrial talk. 20 years ago, that's not happening. But now it's acceptable. People are interested. People are intrigued. If you're trying to blow up on the YouTube space or on the internet space, it's like, yeah, I might have to interview this guy who talks about UFOs,
exactly.
IFOs, aliens, extraterrestrials. Whereas 20, 25 years ago, you've been looking at that like, if I do that, am I going to be cornered into this sort of conspiracy UFO alien guy? I don't want that. I'm going to stay clear of it. So it's becoming more acceptable, and that's by design. That's by design.
It's by design. So,
but yeah, Elizondo, good point. Good point.
We got a lot to cover, but we're gonna have to speak on his interview because I thought it was really interesting, and he's a good science guy. Broke a lot down, and just the climate away. He was part of the Congress hearing as well, the one that just happened last week, maybe, and I still have to watch that fully, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, we told you.
We're going to cycle back round to episode 1.
Yeah, indeed. Told you about him all the way in episode 1. That was when the report was supposed to be being put together, and he came out like, they're not going to tell you the truth. The UAP report, they were putting together the UAP report, but he came out like, they're not going to tell you the truth. They're going to hide things from you. And yeah, now he's been given more of a stage, right? It's inevitable. One thing about the truth is it's going to fight its way out eventually. And so what they're doing is they're trying to play a game with the truth now. Reveal certain things because they know it's time it comes out, but still control the information and control how it comes out and play dumb whilst they're doing it. Right? They're sitting in Congress here and talk about, so you're telling me that there's a sector of government with alien bodies? That's what you're telling me? And I'm like, you guys serious?
Who would have thought? Wow.
How could this happen?
We've been lied to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all just a game. I'm not saying there aren't individuals who genuinely don't know, but the entity itself knows and has been knowing. So make no mistake about that. And not only has been knowing, but has been creating divisions specifically to deal with the concealment of that information. Divisions like the MIB. Divisions dedicated to making sure, hey, this information don't get out. And anyone that's going to give it out is either going to have to be made to seem insane or killed or both. And that's how they play the game, right? And so you look over the course of history and you look at certain people's deaths and the timing of certain people's deaths. And you come to understand, a lot of people are killed because of what they know and because of their danger, because they're considered dangerous and considered liable to reveal the information. So you just have to pay attention.
Yeah. I've been wanting you to speak on the MIB. I want to do maybe an episode or segment on that. You dropped that little one in there, but
we're gonna have to break it down. MIB, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite movies growing up.
It's a good movie.
One of my favorite set of movies, the whole trilogy. But they
are
real.
They are real. Those movies were important in the sense of just letting you know that there are aliens amongst us. It's one of the things that people like Mr. Elizondo are saying, and other they're saying, there's aliens amongst us. There's people who've come out and said, listen, it's not only that they're here, it's not only that they fly and zoom by real quick in a craft that's far superior to anything we've created. Yeah, that happens too. But also, some of them are here. And Baba Yaanuwn explained, yeah, some of these aliens, they literally, maybe they didn't make it on their planet. They come here and they're just living their lives like ordinary folk. Not all of them are, in their crafts, in their high craft, zooming by like, hey, yeah, we're better than you. Or crashing into Vegas like them aliens back then that crashed into Vegas.
So we got bum aliens living here.
We got bum aliens.
Weren't worth a dime on their planet.
Yeah. Come slightly more advanced maybe than humans. Couldn't make it on their planet. Came and it reminds me a little bit of Venom. I watched the Venom movies with Tom Hardy. Venom openly admitted
he said I was a loser on my planet.
Loser on my planet, but here I'm a star. Right? So some of these aliens are literally playing games. You've got different tier of extraterrestrials, but some of them just live amongst you as normal folk in the post office, like Men in Black 2. Tommy Lee Jones is surrounded by aliens, didn't know it. Some of them are maybe slightly high class. Some of them are playing a religious game. Some of them have fun deceiving humans. When you actually reflect on it and you look at human beings as a race, we're easy to deceive. We're easy to deceive. Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about some of the lies that get us and how illogical they are, with religion being a big one. Sorry if you're religious, but we're talking about a make-believe sky daddy.
The sky daddy.
The sky daddy. And so
some of them come for vacation too.
Some of them will come for vacation, to enjoy themselves, enjoy the planet. This is seen as like Earth is like the Vegas of the universe.
Party planet.
Yeah, party planet. Go down to Earth and just party with the humans. That's how it's seen. Some of them come to hunt. Some of them come to kill. Some of them come for
predator.
Yeah, for predator. Exactly like predator. Some of them come for resources. Some of them come because they need the resources of the planet. Hence, we go back to some of the stories we were told about extraterrestrials coming here for things such as gold and other elements that the Earth has in abundance. There's a bunch of different reasons that they come that you can never get into because a lot of you are still not quite sure they exist. But I'm saying don't be fooled by the picture that's painted. Just look into it. Look into it. We got a thick book on our shelf of extraterrestrials encounters. It's one of the thickest books I've ever seen. It's like that. I'm like, before you even read it, that's a thick book for just made up stuff. Just one of those got to be real, right? Just one of them got to be exactly. An actual encounter with an alien, right? But I'm saying, look into it, do the investigation yourself, and make up your mind based on your own due diligence, right? Don't just dismiss the topic entirely because it's been presented to you as conspiracy theory and crazy and da-da-da-da. Look into it, and you'll find that the evidence stacks up, and that everything we're saying and have been saying isn't so crazy after all. When we're combining the religion and the cultures and the ancient civilizations with the extraterrestrials, with the attempts to leave the planet, so on and so forth, with the viewings at different points in time, we're telling you about lights that are seen above Israel and who that was, so on and so forth, you start to understand that, it's just that the being that teaches us is divine in nature and does have this information and information for you, and you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. So do your investigation first, accept it. Remember, one of the first things we said is accepting the existence of aliens is step one.
Step one.
Do your investigations, decide what you think, and then once you see the stack of evidence, then we can tell you what's going on and how involved they are with human activity. Because if you're starting at step one and you get all the way to here, you'll see it's extensive. There's quite some stories to be told. Mm-hmm. So yeah, not to go off on one, but it's just something that we kind of have to move past now.
There you have it.
Yeah.
There you have it.